Alright guys, lesson 2, changing temperatures. We're on page 15 in our book. The I can statement says, I can use a number line to add positive and negative numbers. So on 2.1, which pair of arrows doesn't belong? So we have these 4 pairs of arrows. Your 4th one is on page 16. You got to figure out which one does not belong. I'll go ahead and hit pause, figure it out, and then push play, and we'll get started. All right, hopefully you'd had time to figure out which one doesn't belong. You could make a case for any one of these not belonging. You could make a case saying number 1 doesn't belong because both arrows are going right. Number 4 doesn't belong because both arrows are going left. Number 2 doesn't belong because you have a big negative. And number 3 doesn't belong because you end back up at 0. So you can make a case for any of those numbers not belonging. All right, so if we look at page 2.2, get into the math stuff here. We're on page 16. It says complete the table and draw a number line diagram for each situation. So we start with positive 40 on all of these, if you notice. And we're just going to 10 degrees warmer means we're going to move 10 degrees to the right, and degrees colder means we're going to move to the left. So we start at 40 and we go 10 degrees warmer. So 40's here. If we move 10 warmer, that means we're going to go 10 to the right, and we end up at 5, so 50. So 40 plus 10 is 50. All right, letter B. We start at 40, and we're going 5 degrees colder. So we start at 40, and we're going to go 5 degrees colder, so we're going to move to the left. Okay? So if we move 5 degrees to the left, we end up at 35, positive 35. Okay, now it wants us to write an addition equation. So we're going to start with 40, and we're going to add negative 5 because we went to the left. So there's my equation. Now, if you notice, I put parentheses around the negative. The reason why I do that, because if I didn't, it'd look like this: 40 plus negative 5. When you have a negative next to a positive there, it gets kind of confusing. So a lot of people will put parentheses around the negative so you don't get confused on the plus and the minus there. So 40 plus parentheses, if I could draw parentheses, negative 5. Okay? Letter C, 40 and 30 degrees colder. So we're going to start at 40. And we're going colder, so we're going to move to the left 30 degrees. Well, there's 10, 20, 30. So we're going to end up at positive 10. So write an equation: 40 plus, because we went to the left, it's going to be negative. So 40 plus parentheses negative 30. All right? Letter D. 40 degrees plus, and then we're going to go 40 degrees colder. So we're starting at 40, start at 40, and we're going to go 40 degrees colder. Well, that's going to end us at 0. Okay, so my equation, we still have 40 plus, because we went left, it's negative again, negative 40. And then letter E, 40 plus 50 degrees colder. So we're still starting at 40. Now 50 degrees colder, we're going to go to the left, 50. Well, there's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. We end up at negative 10. All right, so if I wrote that equation, 40 plus negative 50 equals negative 10. All right, so even though when you're moving negative, you can add a negative to it. Okay, let's look at the next one. This is on page 17. Okay, it says complete the table and draw a number line. So same thing we've been doing. Now we're just starting with a negative number instead of a positive number. So we're going to start with negative 20. So negative 20 is here. And now it says 30 degrees warmer. So we're going to move to the right 30 degrees. There's 10. There's 20. There's 30. So we end up at positive 10. So my equation is negative 20. Now, because we went to the right, we're going to add a positive number. So we can just say negative 20 plus 30. Okay? Letter B. Negative 40, or negative 20, and then 35 degrees warmer. So we're still going to the right. So there's 10, there's 20, there's 30, and 5. We end up at positive 15. So if I rewrite the equation, negative 20, it's a positive number, or we're moving to the right, so it's a positive number. So negative 20 plus 35. Okay? Letter C. We still have negative 20. So we start at negative 20. 15 degrees warmer, so we're still moving to the right, 15 degrees. 5, 10, 15. That puts me at negative 5. So my equation is negative 20. We move to the right, so plus 15. It's still positive. Even though my answer is negative, we went to the right. Okay, letter D. Negative 20, 15 degrees colder. So we're starting at negative 20, and now we're going 15 degrees colder. Well, there's 5, 10, 15. So I end at negative 35. So negative 20 plus, because we went to the left, it's going to be a negative number. So we're going to go negative 20 plus negative 15. Okay? And there is my answers for those ones. And then one more thing, 2.3 on page 18. So we are going to say, one winter day, the temperature in Houston is 8 degrees Celsius. Find the temperatures in other cities. Explain or show your reasoning. So 8 degrees, positive 8. So positive 8. 8 degrees warmer, that means we're going to add, 10 degrees warmer. That means we're going to go 8 plus 10. And we get 18, okay? And in Salt Lake City, it's 8 degrees colder than Houston. Well, it's 8 degrees in Houston, and 8 degrees colder means we're going to add a negative, or you can think of we're going to subtract 8. Well, 8 minus 8 is 0. Letter C, in Minneapolis, it's 20 degrees colder than it is in Houston. So we have 8. 20 degrees colder means we're going to subtract 20 degrees. So if you think, I start at 8, and from 8 down to 0 is 8 degrees, and I have 12 degrees left. So I'm going to go back 12 degrees, and so from 0 back 12 degrees is negative 12 degrees. Okay? Might be easiest to think of like a number line. I'm a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8. So there's 8 spaces, right? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's negative 12. So back 12 more spaces. Okay? Number 2, in Fairbanks, it's 10 degrees colder than it is in Minneapolis. What's the temperature in Fairbanks? Well, Minneapolis was negative 12. We just figured out negative 12 here. So 10 degrees colder, so we have negative 12 minus 10 more degrees. So if you think of a number line, here's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now we have to go left 10 more spaces. Well, 13, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have negative 12. So negative 12 is right here. So 13, negative 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So we end up at negative 22 degrees. Okay? One way to check this, or one way to do this, is type that in your calculator. Negative 12 minus 10. Okay? And then the summary. That's it. If it is 42 degrees outside and the temperature increases by 7 degrees, then we can add the initial temperature and the change in the temperature to find the final temperature. If the temperature decreases by 7, we can either subtract 7 or we can add a negative 7. Okay, so subtracting and adding a negative mean the same thing. In general, we can represent a change in temperature with positive numbers if it increases and negative numbers if it decreases. Then we can find the final temperature by adding the initial temperature and the change. If it's 3 degrees and the temperature decreases by 7, then we can add to find the final temperature. We can represent the sign numbers with arrows on the number line. We can represent positive numbers, arrows going to the right, and negative numbers going to the left. For example, this arrow represents positive 10 because it's 10 units long and it points to the right. We can represent negative numbers with arrows that start at 0 and point to the left. For example, this arrow represents negative 4 because it's 4 units long and points to the left. To represent addition, we put arrows tip to tail. So this diagram represents 3 plus 5. Green 3, red 5. So 3 plus 5, we end up at 8. And this represents 3 plus negative 5. So we start at 0, we go 3 to the right, and then 5 to the left, and we end at negative 2. All right? So on your assignment today, we're going to answer 1 in your book. So it says the temperature is negative 2 degrees. If the temperature rises by 15, what's the new temperature? So we start at negative 2. We're going to go up 15 degrees. Where are we going to end? Just put it in the box. And letter B, at midnight the temperature is negative 6, and midday the temperature is 9 degrees. By how much did the temperature rise? So how far is it from negative 6 up to positive 9? Okay? And then number 3 as well. It says draw a diagram to represent each of these situations. And then write an addition equation. In Canvas, we just want to know what the answer is. So the temperature was 80 degrees and fell 20 degrees, so 80 minus 20. Letter B, the temperature was negative 13 and rose 9, so negative 13 plus 9. And letter C, the temperature was negative 5 and then fell 8, so negative 5 minus 8. Just what are the answers? Type those in the boxes. If you have any questions, just go ahead and send me an email.